For my recent Prime Media and Culture assessment, I chose to do an essay based on McRobbie and Thornton's theory, suggesting that the changes in structure of society show that the concept of a moral panic is redundant. A moral panic can be defined as typical anxieties such as the immorality of young people, the absence of parental control, the threat of deviant behaviour to the national identity, and labour discipline, the problem of too much free time leading to crime. I based my essay using theories and theorists relating to them to structures in old time and new time, like the late modernity. To begin with, I discussed Cohen's theory and suggesting that moral panic is based on fantasy, hysteria, delusion, and illusion of being duped by the powerful. He did a study based on mods and rockers, and they were described by the BBC as wearing designer suits, protected by parka jackets. They often rode Lambretta scooters, and they listened to music such as The Who. In this context, McRobbie and Thornton are correct in saying that moral panics in this concept are redundant into our world in a late modernistic time, as something as so little as people dressing differently would not cause an outcry. However, in the late 60s it would have, because they didn't have the sort of media we do today to give them global news and things happening worldwide to scare them. So therefore, people differing from the norm would cause such an outcry, as people wouldn't be expecting it. In continuation, in the concept of homosexuality being illegal and unaccepted really was enhanced majorly by the AIDS disease. This was prominent in society back then, and when Watney discussed it, how homosexuality and AIDS was seen more than a moral panic, but this created a whole monstrous representation, caused high levels of anxieties and fears of people catching the AIDS disease. An example of this comes from a headline given by the BBC called "Mystery Disease Kills Homosexuals." This caused such moral panic back in the time that people would go into pubs, but they wouldn't drink from the same cups as anyone else, so they brought their own cups to the pub. This is because they were so scared and had little knowledge on how the AIDS disease was actually contracted and how it could be spread. So the lack of knowledge caused such an outcry and a moral panic, and in correlation to people being so homophobic at this time. This completely contradicts our late modernistic society now, as it wouldn't cause a moral panic. Legal of homosexuality was in 1967, and more recently in March 2014 the legalisation of homosexual marriage was passed through. So the nature of society and the way that we deal with the acceptance of different formations and different relationships is completely changed. We accept all sorts of relationships, wherever they come from, whoever people want to be with. So McRobbie and Thornton are correct at this point in saying that moral panics are redundant, because this sort of moral panic would not be seen in society today. There have been so many cultural and scientific developments that have changed how and made society more at ease. This could exemplify that why these changes have made McRobbie and Thornton's definition of moral panic more redundant. It's not seen today. Science nowadays has the capability and the developments to make people feel safe, so their anxieties have gone. There's no more hysteria about people contracting AIDS, especially from a homosexual man, which is what it was at the time. The two ideas I've given there just show how McRobbie and Thornton are right, saying that moral panics are redundant nowadays, because you wouldn't see a moral panic based on homosexuality in the UK or people wearing parka jackets in the UK. However, to contradict their idea, most recent moral panic in late modernism is ISIS. ISIS is a jihadist group that hit the international scene most poignantly in 2015, but well, a lot before then. This group is a caliphate. Essentially, they are known for the abundance of killing and torture they have caused in a social and visual way for everyone to see. This terrorist group has not only caused a moral panic for the UK, but sensationally worldwide. It's a global thing. The most recent devastation is the attacks on Paris, where 3 terrorist attacks happened simultaneously. This left 129 dead and hundreds wounded. These anxieties and fears spread further when the terrorist group took social media to threat that they were next going to target London and Washington. The stories that we see on ISIS are 24/7, it's non-stop. You either see a video of one of their attacks, or it's constantly played by the news, or people writing things on social media. It's constant. People are fueled with fear and anxiety because of this. This is evident that there's a moral panic, and for instance, the tourism in London has decreased while the policing in London has increased. This shows that the structure of our society is changing because of it. Furthermore, looking at the construct that youths call moral panic, like Cohen's study, in 2011 we had the London riots. This caused quite the moral panic for the UK. Predominantly, the riots were a result of the killing of Mark Duggan, which was a death caused by the police officer. The rioters were mainly from a working class background, and they had ultimate rage for the death. This resulted in many shops being broken into and set alight and looting during the time period of the riot. The moral panic and delinquence of these youths spread throughout the UK into cities such as Birmingham and Liverpool. Lord MacDonald stated that he urged judges to avoid the moral panic elsewhere in society when sentencing those involved in the riots and looting. He suggested that the youth should receive similar sentences to those who would have been found guilty of the same offence but in a different complete time. However, to exemplify that these London riots caused the moral panics, as the sentencing for minor crimes were amplified a significant amount. An example of this is a university student stole 4 bottles of alcohol from a local Tesco within the time period of the riots, but he received a 16-month jail term. This is such an extreme sentencing for such a petty crime as you were. However, the government and police wanted to ensure that these types of events would never happen again, which caused the need for such harsh sanctioning. This again shows that moral panics can be inflicted by youths. However, it just shows that the way we deal with moral panics is completely different. We'll have a moral panic, but then we'll come together as a society to stop and change and fundamentally destroy where the moral panics come from.